So when I was 5 years old, I was in preschool one day and they do that question where they say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I drew a picture of myself in front of an easel and I wrote, I want to be an artist one day. So kind of, it's always been a part of me. It's something I've always wanted to do. I do large abstract paintings. I use a high flow acrylic. It mimics watercolor a little bit. When I was in college studying art, I really loved oil paint and watercolor. So finding acrylic gave me that kind of happy medium between the both. I still get the effects of watercolor and the layering and pouring, but I can use it with the brighter, bolder colors that acrylics give. Instead of working traditionally on a canvas upright, I do work on the ground. So I have a large studio in my home that I will spread out anywhere between 3 to 10 canvases at one time. I like to work in a series to create like a cohesive body of work to express whatever emotion or feeling I'm trying to get across. Oftentimes, I won't have a specific image in mind before I start a painting. I don't like going in that way. I don't like things to be too planned out or mapped out. I really grab all my inspiration for my art through my everyday occurrences. It might be I'm on the floor playing Legos with my kids, or maybe I'm traveling and I'm hiking mountains in Colorado. I'll usually grab certain color palettes or elements from my surroundings, from memory, and I will translate them into sketchbook drawings and paintings. And I'll oftentimes start a whole series or collection of work based on that specific color palette in my sketchbook. So I don't necessarily want the viewer to look at my work and say, oh, you know, she was thinking or feeling this at that time. If they do, that's great. But my work is more of an internal practice. I'm using it as sort of a meditation, the way I apply the paint, the way I can let my feelings out on canvas. And so my intent is not for the viewer to get a specific subject or something out of it. I'd love for them to create, you know, their own experience from that work. My dad was my framer, so we were a duo, and he framed all my paintings. He had been doing it for 16 years, and he loved it, and it brought us together. He was the greatest person in the world, my biggest role model. This past year was the hardest year of my entire life. My dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in April of last year, and he died in April of this year. And looking back at my work over the past year, I didn't make a lot of work because I was spending all my time with him. And when I look back at my work, it's so angry and it's violent, and it took on a different feeling than my work had prior to his poor prognosis. And it wasn't until my cousin pointed out, wow, Pam, like these are powerful. They're bright, but they're angry, and she loved it. So I subconsciously, those things will channel through my work. And I kind of love that about art, being able to lay all those emotions out on canvas. I mean, I don't know what people do who don't have that outlet. So I created the more brighter, bolder works at the very end of his life. And then after he died, I finished up a black and white series. And it was the first time. I love negative space. So I usually work on a white canvas and let negative space show through. And it was the first time I decided to pick up black gesso and gesso a whole series of canvases. This is the last one left of the series. And then at the end, added like a splash of color in some of them. And so you can get the idea when you read my titles too in my work. It can be a little morbid sometimes, like, oh, okay. So I do a lot of writing alongside my work, and that will oftentimes help me title my pieces. So sometimes you can get a little bit of the story just from the title. Art has saved me in that way. Without it, I don't honestly know what I'd be doing. It's something I can turn to with really hard life events, or if I'm having a really great time in my life, I can always turn to it and express myself in that way. And yeah, art is pretty powerful in that way. So I hope when people view my work or anyone's work, that it can impact them in some way.
For more from Mosaic, please like and subscribe to the channel or check out another video. To help support this project, please visit witf.org/mosaic.